Hello there, World of Tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Blitz, and in today's video, we are breaking into information that is coming soon to World of Tanks Blitz. We've got the Lightbringer, we've got the Soul Eater, two Halloween vehicles which we finally have the stats released on. We also have really interesting information when it comes to a lot of the Season 5 tanks and their statistics as well. In today's video, I'm going to be letting you know everything you're going to need to, my opinions on these vehicles, and whether I think they are going to be good, or rather mediocre, once they are released into the game. So, all this information was taken from Wargaming's live stream, which they posted a few hours ago. I was a little busy this morning, so I didn't get out the video as quickly as I wanted, but we are here. So, I have jotted down the majority of information from the stream that is quite important to us. So let's actually take a look. Starting off, we have the Season 5 vehicles. These are three tanks, just like any of the other Season vehicles we've had, the KB Junior, the Death Star. Before that, we had the Magnate, we had the Regressor. So we've had a lot of Season tanks, you know, the E10 and everything like that. The Tier 7 is always free, which is pretty sweet. And this Season's Tier 7 is the Hazard 1. This tank is going to feature a 280 damage per shot projectile. That's actually pretty nice. That's very, very high, up there with other Tier 8s like the CS52 LIS and the T34-1. It's actually going to be quite nice. Standard pen is rather mediocre at 156. This vehicle seems to have similar styling to the T20, but in overall capabilities, it's rather slow. It has decent armor for a medium and a pretty chunky alpha. It actually looks really fun. I am a big fan of high alpha vehicles, and at a Tier 7 medium with 280 DPS, I can tell you for a fact that this will be a strong tank with everything it has going for it. So this is definitely a vehicle that I am personally looking forward to getting. Then we move up to the Tier 8, which is the Quetzal. This Tier 8 is a heavy, and from what the devs have said, it's going to play like a VK100. So if we can take anything from looking at its base stats, well, we can see the vehicle's not going to be very fast with an average speed of 23 kilometers per hour. Its upper plate's about 160 millimeters thick, and it is quite angled, so we'll have to see how effective that is, but I have a feeling it is going to be littered with weak spots, something similar to that of a ground tank in terms of weak spots. Overall, though, it's got 215 mils of pen, and this is without running calibrated. These tanks are unequipped, so with Cali, you're going to be looking at around 230-ish mils of standard pen, which is quite good. It has 340 damage per shot, which is, I think, the first 340 alpha in Tier 8, so that'll be interesting. Overall, it seems like it's going to trade a lot of its mobility for armor, and I'm really interested to see how this vehicle actually plays when it does get released. I'm a big fan of heavies, and I'm a big fan of super heavies, and this thing, it's huge. Like, I looked at it in the stream, and it's a lot larger than you'd think it would be. It's a kind of goofy fantasy-looking vehicle, but if it plays well and it's a fun tank to mess around with, I'm not going to complain. So we'll have to see, but look at that traverse speed, 17 degrees a second. That is absolutely atrocious. So do not expect this vehicle at all to have good mobility. I'm just really hoping that it has a lot of armor. It does feature 1920 hit points base though, so if you're running just improved assembly, you can be sitting upwards of 2000 HP. That's quite a lot. Now we move on to the final vehicle in the Season 5 tanks, and that is, I don't even know the name, the Argonaut. There you go at the top. Other vehicles, other 74, but yes, the Argonaut. This is a Tier 9 tank destroyer, and it's a really dangerous looking tank destroyer. The reason why is because of the gun. This vehicle features 430 damage per shot, which is pretty nice. But what's wild is the pen. This is without calibrated shells, and it has 256 on the standard, 370 on the heat. That is wildly good levels of pen. I mean, the average Tier 9 tank destroyer doesn't have anywhere close to that amount. Something like the SU-122-44, for example, has the same as an IS-4. So this thing with 370, that means you can have upwards of 420-ish millimeters of pen running calibrated shells next update. That is wild. It is going to be the highest pen Tier 9 tank destroyer in the game. And it also features 3,100 DPM without running any provisions or equipment. So if you're running this properly equipped, you're probably looking at around 3,500 effective damage per minute. Yeah, you heard that right. This thing is going to be dangerous. Now, to make up for these characteristics, it has literally 0 armor. That's what Wargaming said. It's going to be a glass cannon. So I can expect it to be rather mobile, but in return have very, very poor characteristics on its armor. But man, that gun is insane. I'm really excited to see how this vehicle plays. Too bad it's really, really, really ugly. Like, it's one of the ugliest tanks I've ever seen Wargaming design. The vehicle is going to have 6 degrees of gun depression as well, so it's not going to be too flexible, and it also does not have a traversable turret. It is a mounted gun. So I think it's 14 degrees to the left and to the right, which is a decent gun arc. 28 degrees in total is pretty good, but we'll have to see how it actually does play. I'm actually rather excited for it. Finally, Wargaming is releasing the G-Sor Fearless, which is obviously going to feature the Fox camo. So for any furries out there, I guess this will be a tank you like. It's alright. I actually think the design's pretty cool though, I think animals are cool, and I think that this camo is pretty sweet. So I know a lot of people out there are going to probably try and get this one. I might not, depends on if I want to feel like death for the next couple of weeks playing in ratings, which usually I don't, but we do have the Fearless. And then we have the 2 final vehicles, which I know a lot of you are probably most interested in, which is the Lightbringer and Soul Eater. We finally have these statistics released. The Lightbringer's gun is actually rather uninteresting. It has 270 damage per shot, 170 mils of standard pen, and 2000 DPM. So it's just kind of like a lower alpha T29 style gun. It's got decent pen. This isn't with Kali, and it's not fully equipped, so once you fully equip it, you're probably looking more around 2100-ish DPM, and with Kali, you're looking at 185 standard, 230-ish on the premium. Not bad. It doesn't seem to be anything incredible, 6 degrees of gun depression, but it's really going to be based off of the armor. I also looked at the mobility. It's pretty mediocre, but this thing has some really goofy looking armor, and I'm really excited to see how that actually turns out in gameplay. I'm hoping that it has some really strong armor. There's not a lot of tier 7s with really good armor profiles, apart from maybe the M6A2E1, so it will be interesting to see how this vehicle plays. And then we have the Soul Eater. Oh yeah, one other thing. One very interesting thing about the Lightbringer, it's going to have the most shell velocity in the game. Currently, the most shell velocity you can achieve in the game is if you're running vehicles that have supercharger and tungsten. So like a Leopard, for example, you can get upwards of like 2,500-600 meters a second shell velocity. This tank base is going to have 2,000 meters a second shell velocity. 2,000! That means if you're just running supercharger, you can get 2,700 meters a second. That's like 7 times the speed of sound. That is insane. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, it means you're never going to have to lead your shots. It's basically a laser pointer. It will instantly hit your target, which I guess is pretty cool, especially for people out there that suck at leading their shells. But I don't think it'll make that much of a difference to the tank's overall capabilities. It'll be quite cool, though. That's what I'll say. And I do like the design of the tank in general. It's got like this weird glowing center part of this gun here. We'll have to see if that's animated when it actually plays. And then we have the Soul Eater. This is probably the vehicle most of you have been wanting to see. The Soul Eater is a tier 8 tank destroyer. And honestly, I think it's really ugly, but that's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. The Soul Eater actually appears to have pretty good armor. Frontally, it has 200 millimeters. Now, I don't know what exactly is 200 millimeters. Is it the upper part? Is it the lower part? I don't know. It's probably the lower part. But either way, it seems like it's going to have pretty decent armor. It also has pretty decent concealment, judging that they're not even running Camonet or equipping the vehicle at all. The other cool thing is that it has the double shot mechanic just like the Helsing, as I mentioned in my previous video breaking into his vehicle. So what that means is that the damage per shot is going to be around, what? It's 270, so in a burst you can deal 540. That's pretty good. It's more than the Helsing, and it's going to go bam bam, as you're going to see. I'm going to show you a little clip in a moment. Yeah, 0.25 second in between shots. So basically an Annihilator with slightly more damage per single shell, but less shells in the entire magazine. Either way, pretty cool. It has 2,265 DPM, which if you're running it properly equipped, especially with provisions and equipment, you're probably looking more around 2,400. So not bad damage per minute. The other thing I noticed about this tank is that it features really good pen. Judging that we're not running calibrated here, this vehicle is going to have 315 mils of heat pen base. So with Kali activated, you're going to be looking more like 350 millimeters of heat pen, and the standard's going to be around 200 and probably 60-ish. that's actually really good levels of pet. Like, this thing is going to hit hard. And the fact that it's a tier 8 tank destroyer is also pretty cool, because normally Wargaming always makes the Halloween tanks tier 7. I mean, look at the previous Halloween tanks we've had in the game. The Annihilator, tier 7. Smasher, tier 7. Titan HND, tier 7. Dracula, tier 7. I mean, even the Rammer, which is like this Mad Max style vehicle, is tier 7. So this tank being a tier 8 is kind of breaking the monotony that Wargaming does a lot, and it will be a tier 8, which is pretty sweet. So yeah, we actually have quite a bit of cool stuff that is coming into the game. When the armor profiles for these vehicles are released, I will make full in-depth guides on each and every one of them, letting you know. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about the upcoming changes to the game. Let me know what you think about these vehicles, and as always, if you want to stay informed and up to date on the newest and most relevant information, make sure to join my Discord and click that subscribe button down below. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.